Hello everybody and welcome back to the weekly English shooting live stream. I hope you've all had a fantastic week and hopefully, as always, filled with a little bit of shooting here and there. But yeah, thank you for joining. A few interesting topics for this evening, continuing off of the video that went out on Sunday, I think it was, talking about this gearing up of attack on our sport, specifically practical shooting. But before we get into that, just a quick reminder to get involved. You've got a chat box there, you can ask questions, you can have your opinions heard, whether you agree or disagree, and of course, most importantly, hit that like button. It's free, it's right there, there's no effort, no excuse. If you're watching, you should be liking, because otherwise why are you watching? So hit that like button, it really does make a big difference to the channel. And yeah, I'll try my best to go through any questions that you guys throw up throughout the stream. But getting into the main topic straight away, some of you may have seen a previous article that was released around the practical shooting club Recoil Scotland, and this is the article itself. Obviously very inflammatory, a lot of inaccuracies and myth truths within it, and now they're doubling down. So this was, I think, looking at it now with hindsight, this was the real warning shot was the first one. This was the first article talking about guns and everything, but nothing about legal sports really, or certainly directing it at a particular club. So that was like the semi-warning. This was really the flare being sent up that something was gonna be coming. And then actually on the day that the video on the channel was released covering this article, a third article was released, and they have made it very, very clear that they are going political. They really don't like the fact that there's this safe, lawful group of individuals responsibly taking part in an internationally recognized sport, and they want to shut it down. And they're going after, this is very much a copy and paste approach to what we saw previously with the Times. And not to maybe make light of it, but it's very much like the meme or the joke of, Mum, we need a news article about loopholes. Oh, you can't see it because the Times lovely paywall, but behind this lovely paywall is the original article about loopholes within the law. And it's like, yeah, little Jimmy, we've got an article about firearms loopholes at home. Yeah, the article about firearms loopholes at home. This is, the Times article was bad, right? But looking at it subjectively, there was some sort of a point, and I think most people actually agreed with the ultimate point. Certainly I did. This is just absolutely ridiculous. So for a little bit of context with the previous Times article, the loophole that he was talking about in the law was the miniature rifle exemption. And that allowed anybody that wasn't a prohibited person to be able to purchase a rifle up to .23 caliber without any certificate, without any checks or balances. Could literally just wake up one day, decide that they were running a mini rifle range, go down to their local gun shop and buy as many up to .23 caliber rifles with as much ammunition up to .23 caliber as they wanted. No requirements to keep it safe, no requirements to keep a log of it, to note down serial numbers. They could quite literally disappear into the ether. Of course, there was the full metal jacket ranges, which really sparked this whole thing, because it was just a bunch of people that obviously didn't know the first thing about firearm safety, and they had used this miniature rifle exemption to be able to get hold of firearms, again, without any checks, without any involvement with the police, and start up this range. And even more worryingly is that there was no lawful definition of what a range was. So these people have got this plot of land, put these like meter high backstop, they're really not going to stop anything, and just declared they had a miniature rifle range and were able to lawfully buy firearms. And you could quite literally declare your front garden as a mini rifle range, even your sitting room, and then go and buy a gun. So there was maybe the legislation wasn't as thought out as it could have been, but it still wasn't technically a loophole. It was a specific bit of legislation within the law that allowed people to lawfully do this. When something is written specifically in law, it's not a loophole. The only element of it being a loophole was that we have this fairly robust firearms licensing system when it's administrated correctly and efficiently that prevents people that otherwise shouldn't have guns getting hold of lawfully owned firearms. And this was a complete bypass to that whole process. So it wasn't really a loophole within law, it was more of a loophole within firearms licensing. But was still, again, specifically mentioned in law, specifically written, and was completely lawful to do so. So I think a lot of people sort of sat back and went, yeah, that's... You know, what's the point of having all this firearms licensing? Whether you agree or disagree with it, what's the point of having firearms licensing if anybody who is not a prohibited person, i.e. hasn't served a custodial sentence, can just go and buy a gun and bypass the whole system? So that was actually agreed to be changed. And I don't think anybody within the firearms community or industry really saw that as a loss, because the real, you know, the official people, the genuine people that are using the miniature rifle exemption are usually holding on to the licenses required anyway. They're usually FAC holders, they're usually RFDs. You know, look at the likes of Double Juice or Phoenix that use the miniature rifle exemption. You know, they are RFDs, they are gun shops, they have licensing far beyond the miniature rifle exemption. So really the effect to the industry wasn't going to be huge. A few people said about Scouts, you know, Scouts would be affected because they were making use of this exemption. But again, the Scouts is quite an organized organization. It really wasn't going to take a lot for, you know, a Scout master or leader to go and get a firearm certificate and then be able to continue running that club. So, you know, whilst I don't want to sit here and praise more firearms restrictions and more laws, it certainly didn't seem illogical. And a lot of people seem to overall think, yeah, that's a fair point. But where this article is coming from in terms of loopholes, I have absolutely no idea. Firearms loopholes allowing practical shooting clubs in Scotland uncovered. And yes, it's the same old, it's sensationalism, it is to sell newspapers, and of course, once again, it's at the cost of lawful, legitimate shooters. But this is just an absolute barefaced lie, and even more so, they continuously contradict themselves within this article. You know, any journalist just worth their salt would read this through and go, oh yeah, I've sort of contradicted myself several times. So Recoil Scotland in Lancashire, I can't even word tonight, runs a practical shotgun, mini rifle and long barrel pistol disciplines, with its website claiming it is Scotland's newest and fastest growing practical shooting club. So straight away, even the subheading, that's not right. So Recoil Scotland does not do mini rifle or long barrel pistol disciplines at their range. They only do practical shotgun and they only do action air. A legal loophole in the UK's firearms laws uncovered by the Sunday Mail is to be raised at Westminster. MP Alan Smith, whose constituency covers Dunblane, where 16 primary school kids and their teacher were killed by a gunman in 1996, will demand cabinet ministers take action over practical shooting clubs. Still trying to figure out where the loophole is here. It comes as Sunday Mail's investigation reveals how the US-inspired club doesn't fall under government approval rules. That is despite members, including those at the club, using high-powered guns as they move their way around a combat assault course to take out human-shaped targets. Alright, okay, so let's just break this down because there's a lot to dispel here. Like, firstly, the whole government approval rules, this is, I believe, referring to the whole Home Office approval. So clubs that wish to, they are not required to. If they wish to obtain Home Office approval, that actually allows them a number of benefits. So we always talk about how, you know, the best ways to be able to get into shooting sports and or firearms ownership, or just shooting in general. And really there's three main avenues. There's the sporting route, there is the hunting route, and there's the collector route, all of which are good reason for wanting a firearm and are all ways of being able to obtain a firearm certificate. I'm not going to talk so much about collecting. Hunting, it's usually shown based on your experience and having somebody vouch for you in the shooting that you've done in the past to enable you to, let's say, qualify to be able to get a firearm certificate. But for the sport aspect, that is where the Home Office approval comes in for a club, because to be able to get a firearm certificate for sporting purposes, for target shooting, you need to be a full member of a Home Office approved club. So you join the club, you fulfill your probational membership, you are offered a full membership, and because they are a Home Office approved club, that is seen as good justification and good reason for your firearm certificate application. A club does not need to have Home Office approval. They only need it if they wish to offer guest days to people that don't hold firearm certificates, or they want their members who aren't firearm certificate holders to use the club to be able to apply for their firearm certificate. If there are a number of FAC holders, SGC holders, and a group of lawful, licensed, certificated firearms owners decide that they want to start a club, that's not a loophole. There is no requirement to inform the police of the formation of a club. There is no structure even within the Home Office guidance to first start up that club. There's only guidance and relative legislation when they want to go for Home Office approval. There's certain requirements for the club. It has to have a certain amount of members, you have to have a committee, so on and so forth. But any group of people for any sport or any activity can decide to start a club. I could right now at this second say, right, there is now the EnglishShooting shooting club. I've just formed a club. That's not a loophole, because in order to form a shooting club, in order to have people lawfully shooting, they have to have firearms that are lawfully owned. And if they are lawfully owned, that means they have already gone through the strict vetting. They've already gone through all of the processes to determine that they are a suitable individual to be able to own firearms. So you get a little bit of freedom there. Well, we've vetted you, an incredibly in-depth and strict process. We've determined that you're okay. So as long as you're within the parameters of your FAC, and that's another aspect, but as long as you stick to the parameters of your FAC, you can go and do what you want with those firearms. You're a trustworthy person. We can trust you to stay within the law and go and use these firearms responsibly. And that is the other element with the stipulations and maybe restrictions that are put on your FAC. So everybody's firearm certificate will have a box of conditions, and this is where you get open certificates or closed certificates. A closed certificate basically means that you're only allowed to use those firearms in specific circumstances, and conditions can be such as you're only allowed to use them at registered Home Office approved ranges. You're only allowed to use these guns for specific disciplines. So Section 1 shotguns is a really good example. Some people only have the condition that they can use them for practical shooting or for target sports. Some will have target sports and quarry shooting as well, or not game shooting but rough shooting. So you are really restricted with the conditions on your FAC. So it can be pretty hard, just because of the conditions on your FAC, to start up a club and just find a bit of land and start going at it. Only really if you've got an open certificate or the club is Home Office approved are you able to then really have some freedom and set up these clubs. But also what Recoil is doing quite a lot of is, going under, section 2, so just shotgun certificates where there are less requirements, but also estate exemption. Again, a specific bit of legislation within firearms law and within the guidance that sets out that people on privately owned property, on estates, are allowed to supervise other non-certificate holders in shooting. So these aren't loopholes, these are specific elements in law, and these people are obtaining these firearms through certification. They are working with the police and with firearms licensing. Like, what is the issue that they decide to go and do practical shooting versus going, pigeon shooting or clay pigeon shooting, right? They're still using the guns safely, responsibly, and within the conditions of their FAC, which the police are fully aware of. So that's let's say the government approved rules debunked, because again they're doing it within the set out guidance. This is by using high powered guns. Again, this is the language continuously used. Well, what is a high powered gun? I mean, a lot of the time they're shooting action air out there. That's an airsoft gun. That's a sub 1 joule BB gun. That's not particularly high powered. Shotgun, is a shotgun particularly high powered? Well, compared to a 50 BMG, I would argue no. What is your definition? It's just scaremongering. It's that sensationalism. As they move their way around a combat assault course, there is nothing combat about what we do. We go to significant lengths to distance ourselves from combat, from military, and shooting human-shaped targets. This is explicitly prohibited within IPSC, the International Practical Shooting Confederation. It's also prohibited wearing camouflage or having any links to military and combat. It is an outright sport recognized by the GAISF, which is the same level as FIFA. Are you going to start telling me that FIFA is not a sport anymore, that football is not a sport? Because in terms of internationally, or being internationally recognized, practical shooting is as recognized as a sport as football. Anybody with a license for certain types of gun, is able to set up a practical shooting club on private land without the need for police, government, or lawful authority permission and licensing. Anybody with a license without the need for licensing. Anybody with a license without the need for licensing. Again, this is, they might not need specific permission to form a club and go out and use their lawfully owned firearms, but they have obtained a license through strict vetting, and they are using their firearms under that license as permitted. Right? And in terms of this whole local authority, well, we all know about the 28-day rule. You don't need planning permission for any activity as long as it is not done on that parcel of land more than 28 days a year. And again, this goes for clay pigeon shooting, this goes for motocross circuits, this should go for full-on race circuits. That's not a problem with firearms licensing, right? That's a general planning permission. And in terms, this whole suggestion without the need of police or government, well, they are massively missing the point that Recoil has worked alongside the police from day one. Firearms licensing and the police were at their recent level 3 championship match back in August. The police are more than aware of what Recoil are doing, and they're actually incredibly supportive because of the standard that Recoil is running their ranges and the standards that their members hold, the standards that the members hold themselves to. So the police are well aware. The local authority, thanks to this article, is now more than aware, and oh yeah, they're still going strong. They also allow new members without any gun experience or licenses to come along and take part in shooting. Well, yeah, because it's a pretty fucking stupid idea to allow people to go and apply for guns and go and use guns without giving them training first. It's like, what are they suggesting with that statement? You know, oh, well, no, you can't give anybody any experience or any tuition or training with a gun before they go out and buy one themselves. No, that would be far too dangerous. Absolutely ridiculous. Again, Recoil has some of the highest training standards of any club, any shooting club, not just practical shooting, any shooting club within the country. Right? And of course they are a club that want to see people grow. They want to, they want to encourage the sport that, again, is lawful and safe, that they enjoy so much, and they want other people to enjoy it as well. So they are offering a facility for people to be introduced to firearms in a safe and controlled environment, supervised by people that not only just have the relevant experience, but are qualified, recognized range officers, and using guns that are lawfully owned. They are guns that people who have gone through the correct vetting have obtained and are able to, within the law, lend to other people to use. Like, what is the problem there? And again, because Recoil isn't a Home Office approved club, they would still need to go and join somewhere else. They would still need to go and join a Home Office approved club before they could go and get their certificate. All Recoil is offering is just more facilities for people to be introduced, or people that already have the certificates to go and take part. Smith, the SNP MP for Stirling, said they seem to be exploiting a loophole between Scotland and the UK on legislation that needs to be fixed. In the previous article, I might not be able to, I think it was actually right towards the bottom. There's no suggestion. Operation. I'm pretty sure in the previous article there was something saying that firearms licensing or firearms laws was common between the whole of the UK. This isn't a loophole because it's in Scotland, right? This is the law across the whole of the UK. Looking at the activities of some of these clubs, it strikes me they need to be regulated. They are. Because the guns that they are using are regulated by firearms licensing. The individuals that are able to provide these guns to members that are in possession of these firearms have gone through the firearms licensing vetting process and have been given the permission to be able to buy and use these guns. It couldn't be any more regulated, right? So you have to go, so what are they trying to suggest here? You have to go through firearms licensing to be able to get your certificates, and then you have to go through a range licensing process. If you've been given the certificate, that means that you can be trusted to use a gun safely, responsibly, and lawfully. So why does it matter where you're shooting it as long as it is safe and lawful? It just seems like, what is the issue here? What are they trying to solve? Because all the issues they seem to be presenting are solved by the fact that we have firearms licensing in the first place. Our gun laws are tight for good reason, and we need to be vigilant to any attempts to get around them. What laws are you getting around here? There's nothing in the law to say that clubs need to be vetted, that clubs need all of this regulation. So you're not getting around it. It's just not there. And what issues has that caused? The whole thing with Full Metal Jacket, that was based on them being able to get the guns through a, in commas, loophole in firearms licensing. Right, it doesn't matter. If firearms licensing was robust enough, or the law was robust enough in that instant to prevent the people at Full Metal Jacket getting hold of their firearms, then it wouldn't matter if they started up a club or a range. They wouldn't have the guns to go and use. The Sunday Mail began asking questions about the operating laws around practical shooting clubs after revealing a disturbing spike in interest in courses which allow people to fire against the clock using obstacles and improvised shooting positions to hit targets. This disturbing spike, again, they keep saying this disturbing spike. Now, practical shooting is growing. But where are their numbers? How do they know it's growing? Because they haven't quoted anything, any factual statements to show that there is a disturbing spike. It's actually quite a steady growth rather than just disturbing spike. Our approaches to UK and Scottish governments and police initially suggested that they were unclear how the clubs were regulated. Well, they're regulated through firearms licensing. It later emerged that they are exempt from strict gun laws, which were tightened after That's just an outright lie. Like, what are they exempt from? Are they exempt from going through firearms licensing? Are they exempt from having to get a firearm and or shotgun certificate for the guns that they want to own and go and use? There's and in terms of they are exempt from strict laws which were tightened after the Dunblane tragedy. The only tightening of laws were that they banned handguns, right? So what are they exempt? Is the Daily Record saying that Recoil are exempt from the handgun ban? Because that would be news to them, and you can bet a serious amount of money that if that is the case, Recoil is going to add handgun shooting very, very quickly. In Scotland, a shooting club which uses 3 types of weapons, full-bore rifles, small-bore rifles and muzzle-loading pistols, must apply for approval from the Scottish Government. Only if the club wishes to obtain a club FAC, if the club wishes to possess firearms for their members. It is not a requirement if the members of the club have their own certificates and their own guns to use. But practical shooting clubs which offer practical shotgun, mini rifle, long barrel pistols and action air shooting weapons fall outside the approval powers. No, they do not. A barefaced lie once again. So a mini rifle is a small bore rifle. So another contradiction. So they would be bound by this requirement for approval. Again, go away, Mac Hancock. Just not understand. A long barrel pistol would fall under the same. Okay, let's not get into the whole thing that they're different and all this, that, and the other. But they would come under a Section 1 firearm, the same as a mini rifle, requiring the club to be Home Office approved if they wanted to share it with their members. Of course, let's just not get into the whole sharing of long barrel pistols. Action air shooting. Well, action air shooting weapons, for fuck's sake. The guns used in action air airsoft guns fall outside of firearms licensing to begin with because they are sub 1 joule BB guns. Anybody over the age of 18 can go and buy one of these things and start shooting it in their garden. If they want to call it an action air club, get some mates round, that's perfectly lawful. That is well outside the scope of firearms licensing. But practical shotgun, this is perhaps where they're getting a little bit of confusion, because Section 1 shotguns, it's certainly a newer element of having clubs that are focused on Section 1 shotguns, or it's not necessarily new, but shotguns in general. Well, shotguns in general, in terms of clay pigeon shooting, that is the same level of legislation that Recoil are operating to. For a clay pigeon range, which there are hundreds of up and down the country, do not require Home Office approval because they are not using full-bore rifle, small-bore rifles and muzzle-loading pistols. Again, the Home Office approval is only there so that the club can have its own firearm certificate, can lend out club guns to club members that don't hold FACs, can allow people to visit under a guest day that also don't have FACs, and those guests without FACs can then use the club to obtain their firearm certificate. A playground, again, anybody at any point can start a playground, right? But if you want people using those guns that don't have a certificate, you need permission from the police to be able to share those guns, and Recoil is operating no differently to, say, a playground. Why do they not have an issue with playgrounds? There's far more of them, and I can tell you from personal experience, the level of safety and gun handling is significantly under the level of which you will find at a practical shooting range or a practical shooting match. They just quite clearly have no understanding of what the law is. Again, this is why it's incredibly dangerous, because you have MPs, you have journalists, you have families of the victim of Dunblane quite clearly not having any understanding of what the law is, or maybe what it should be, but yet they are the ones pushing for it to be changed. Smith said he was shocked to learn about the loophole, but plans to raise it in Westminster during business questions on Thursday. He said, "Hats off to the Sunday Mail for some real public service journalism. I was shocked to read that these clubs exist, and I have to say their very existence doesn't sit well with me. I'll be looking into this with a view to making sure we keep our protections as up to date as possible. I will be raising this in the House of Commons." So this is why I think it's very important for us as a community to balance the scales, because this is, we haven't even got to the bottom of the article yet, where the real contradiction is. But this is now the second article, and I've had it on good authority that there is most likely going to be a third article this weekend. This is a campaign, right? This is exactly what we saw with the Times. And as a community, I think it's important to publicly correct the misinformation, the mistruths and the lies that are in these articles. I think it's incredibly important that we control the narrative of our own sport, and by sitting there silent, waiting for this to blow over, they are doing irreversible damage to our sport in the meantime, because going unchallenged, not saying anything, that makes us look guilty. It makes it look like they've hit the nail on the head, we've got something to hide, and we've got nothing that we can say back to it because they've caught us. And that couldn't be further away from the truth. Yet there seems to be quite a lot of silence from our side of the argument here, from our side of the debate. I think now more than ever, it is imperative that we provide the facts. Don't get me wrong, I completely understand why people think it's a waste of time, it won't do anything. Well, it's certainly not going to be any more harmful than doing nothing. If you do nothing, you have 100% chance of the Daily Record, the Sunday Mail controlling the narrative. You have 100% chance of them dictating to people what the law is or what they think the law is. Even if we have a 1% chance speaking out of balancing things, even if 1% of the people that read these articles go off to find the statements that we could be putting out, to find videos like are on the channel to balance the view, that's worth doing. As long as you are careful and constructive in what you rebut with, then it's very hard to be used against us. And certainly this is going to be used against us far more than the twisting of words from our end of the community. Recoil Scotland runs a practical shotgun, mini rifle and long barreled pistol disciplines. Again, they don't do mini rifle at that range. They don't do long barrel pistol at that range. Its website claims it is Scotland's newest and fastest growing practical shooting club, and boasts of plans to expand to more than 10 that would be nice. 10 ranges. Videos on the club Facebook and YouTube page shows members and guests on a course pulling guns out of holsters before discharging quick fire bullets. Again, they want to use phrases like that. Like, even if you had a point here, it would be completely undone by this point, right? Because you just go, oh, you haven't got the foggiest what you're talking about. And this whole pulling guns out of holsters, well, those videos, again, are the action airs, right? Those are the airsoft guns. This, human-shaped metal cutout, again, within IPSC, we are prohibited from shooting at human-shaped target. It is prohibited. Recoil offers guests a 3-hour safety session where those who have never fired a gun before are allowed on its ranges. Yes, again, if you want to introduce somebody to the sport, you want to make sure that they are safe and competent before you even try and help them on their way to owning their own firearms. Club's website said following, skip that. It's all just a regurgitation of the other article. Again, you've got to bring in the Dunblane angle here. The fact that a practical shooting club is allowed to operate with what appears to be no licensing or approval. Again, like there is licensing. The guns are owned under a firearm certificate or shotgun certificate. That is licensing. Less than an hour from Dunblane is frankly disgusting. Okay, so does that mean, you know, in Lockerbie they're not allowed to fly over Lockerbie anymore? Right? Does that mean any airport near Lockerbie they should shut down out of respect for what happened? Right? Again, what happened at Dunblane, that was a singular deranged individual which could have been prevented with the laws out there at the time, right? You know, that has no relevance to this whatsoever. And I'd bet if you investigated, there would be a hell of a lot more ranges closer to Dunblane than what these people are aware of. It makes absolutely no difference, and that's just a pretty futile point. The Scottish and UK governments need to act immediately to ensure these lethal weapons aren't falling into the wrong hands before another tragedy occurred. Again, they are. It's called firearms licensing, right? This isn't, you know, the people that go there and shoot guns that don't have their own certificates, they are very closely supervised, right? If any of you have seen practical shooting, it's the same thing when you're doing a safety course, the same thing when you're doing training. The RO is on your shoulder. They are within arm's reach of that gun. If you purposely or accidentally go to do something dangerous with the gun, they are going to step in. That's a very large part of the training that range officers receive under, IPSC people that are qualified IPSC range officers, be that, you know, nationally or internationally. They go through what to look out for, how to keep people safe, you know, by purposeful or, you know, accidental actions. You know, these guns aren't just being handed out like sweeties to people, right? It's within a very safe, controlled environment, and the guns are under certificates which people have undergone significant vetting. So it is licensed, right? The Scottish Government said that there are no target shooting clubs in Shotts that currently hold Scottish Government approval. That's because they don't need to. A spokesman said firearms law is a reserved matter with the exception of air weapons, and it would be for the UK government to amend. Again, that's not, you know, they're trying to say this is some sort of loophole between Scotland and the UK. No, it's not. It's down to the UK, unless Scotland decide to leave, which is looking more and more attractive. Sorry, Recoil. I'll still come visit. I've got a passport. The enforcement of firearms law and the determination of most applications for a license to process a firearm and investigating any misuse of firearms is an operational matter for Police Scotland. UK firearms law gives Scottish ministers a role in approving shooting clubs only if full-bore rifles, small-bore rifles or muzzle-loading pistols are involved. Again, not strictly true. If other types of firearms are involved, Scottish ministers do not have a direct role. And again, it's only if the club wishes to seek Home Office approval. There's nothing to suggest that any of the gun clubs in Scotland or their members are operating outside of the law. Last week, police met with Recoil as part of an engagement with licensing holders. North Lancashire Council confirmed they were investigating because a planning application did not exist for Recoil site because they're already within planning. Again, this whole contradiction of, the police know nothing about Recoil. They've snuck everybody and they're doing it behind everybody's back, and the newspaper knows. The police are meeting with them. They meet with them regularly. Last night, campaigners spoke out. The Gun Control Network Hard-won legislation after Dunbayne is being eroded because dangerous loopholes in gun laws are being exploited. Like how? Sorry. Hard-won legislation after Dunbayne, you mean banning handguns, is being eroded because of dangerous loopholes. Again, please show me where these loopholes are where you can get handguns legally in the UK. Please. Please, like, for science. Right? Just how is Recoil taking part in practical shotgun and action air eroding the banning of handguns? Like, what? Like, hello? In practical shooting activities, individuals without licenses are able to access dangerous guns in clubs on gun ranges under strict supervision. The government must act now to close the loophole and prevent another tragedy. Skip past that. Trying to name and shame lawful gun owners. Oh yeah, just to remind you, if you want to. Apparently, she's actually removed her Twitter, locked down her Twitter now. I got a message from somebody. I'll have a look in a second. But this is the reporter. And apparently, if you go on her Twitter now, she's changed her profile picture because she doesn't like her face being plastered all over the internet. So I think it's very unfair that again she finds it appropriate to plaster lawful firearms owners' faces when they've done nothing wrong. So take a good look. This is the reporter. She obviously feels like she's got something to hide now, closing down her social media. So this isn't going to go away. This is in the public interest. You want to talk about public interest? What about holding second-rate journalists to account? That's public interest. What about making sure that news articles are factually correct and that journalists hold themselves to a higher professional standard? That's public interest right there. And actually, on that note, let's have a look, see if I can find her Twitter. I've said all of that, and now our Twitter's going to be exactly the same, and there's going to be no profile picture. Oh yes, no, it has changed. Here we go. I mean, how does that look? Like, so there we go. This screenshot was taken. There you go, because Macs always date it. This was taken on the 2nd of November, so before the article was released, right? And she was more than happy to plaster her face all over her profile, proud of the misinformation that she was spreading, until, shock horror, somebody actually went out there and called her out on it. And now, this is her Twitter. Stop talk. Oh, that's cute. Is that directed at me? Do you reckon? So yeah, like, what does that say? That you've released an article, you've been called out. Any journalist that really was proud of the work that they were doing would love to have their name and face associated to their work. But this journalist is trying to hide. That doesn't stack up for real journalism, does it? It's I think that really does say it all. Anyway, back to the article. Firearms UK, which campaign? This was all so nobody's talking to them. Unfortunately, a Home Office spokesman said the UK has some of the strictest gun laws in the world, and we keep them under constant review to ensure those with legal access to firearms use them safely. This is why we have recently brought in new statutory guidance for firearms licensing, which means police must carry out robust checks on public safety grounds and ensure that these are consistently applied by all police force. Well, we can only wish, right? All practical club shooters will require a certificate from their local force, otherwise they are breaking the law. Sorry. This whole article is about a loophole of people obtaining firearms through all of these different means, but yet they actually quote within it, all practical shooting club shooters will require a certificate from their local force. Like, that doesn't sound very loopholey to me. Like, that has to be one of the worst loopholes I've ever heard of. You have to go through firearms licensing to get a firearms certificate, which you also have to have your medical records checked. You have to have an interview. You have to have a safe for secure storage before you can go and buy your gun. Sounds like a really good loophole to me. Mr. Luke Pollard, who represents Plymouth, shot his and killed 5 people last year, said firearms law are broken. No, it's the firearms licensing departments that are broken. The law is fine. The implementation of the law is what is quite desperately broken, which is going to segue nicely into the next piece I would like to talk about. He said Britain's gun laws are broken and needs top to bottom review. Any loophole in gun laws that glorifies the type. How does a loophole glorify something? The type of shootings we had needs to be closed. I never want a community to go through what we did in Plymouth 2021, and the only way to make that happen is by strengthening gun laws. No, 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 no. Once again, missing the point. The police and firearms licensing had God knows how many chances to remove and keep the guns away from the person that committed Plymouth, right? Even before they changed the statutory guidance, there was ample laws in place. There was ample mechanisms for firearms licensing or the police to remove that guy's guns, and they did, and they gave them back. That's not a problem with our firearms law. That is a problem with the implementation through firearms licensing. And when you start to look at this as a potentially wider issue, you know, and there has been a lot of discussion recently about should firearms licensing be privatized. Well, when you see articles like this, I apologise, it is a Guardian article, but when you see stuff like this, it really does make you wonder. Police vetting failures have allowed predatory officers to join up watchdog fines. Inspectorate for England and Wales says potentially thousands officers cleared who should have failed checks. So the police are struggling to even vet their own police officers. Never mind firearms license holders, right? I think there really does need to be, you know, whilst again I have the heebie-jeebies about the whole thing going on with Bask and Martin Parker and Nabis and the NCA and all of that. There's just something's doesn't feel completely right. Overall, the message I do agree with. Firearms licensing, it's not the firearms laws. They, like, time and time again within the article, robust. Our firearms laws are robust. Okay, so the laws are robust. Where's the weak link here? Well, more and more it's pointing to firearms licensing. Bask is pointing towards that and calling for a complete overhaul. The police are struggling to vet their own officers, never mind people that want to own firearms. And we have seen the perfect example in Plymouth with failings in firearms licensing. We saw the failures in Cumbria. We saw the failures in Dunblane. The majority of mass shootings within this country have, when you get down to the root cause, have been linked to failures or failures within firearms licensing, and certainly failures to act on quite obvious concerns. So if you want, you know, so these people, they want to go off on a tangent and ban pump action shotguns. They want to ban practical shooting ranges or bring in special licensing to practical shooting. And what is that going to achieve? Nothing, right? But yet you have this firearms licensing crisis staring you in the face, the real issue here, and everyone wants to ignore it. Not only do you want to ignore it, you want to divert the funds, the resources away from it into something that is going to achieve nothing. Like, it's the same old. Like, someone did comment, I think, on the video going, you must get really fed up or bored of covering the same old issues, the same old misconceptions, misinformation. And I don't know, I don't think it necessarily gets tiring, but you sort of have to go, am I going insane here? right? We've been over this before. We've been here before. Like, why don't you actually talk to the people that this is their livelihoods? This is what we do day in, day out. Why don't you actually try and work with us for once? The people that can tell you where the real issues is. Because, you know, surprise, lawful firearms owners don't want mass shootings. Lawful firearms owners don't want people being hurt with firearms. They don't want guns falling into the wrong hands. And most will do quite a lot to work with the police, to work with firearms licensing, to work with these people to point out where the real dangers are. But of course, they don't want to listen. Aaron T, did you hear about? Let's go through. That's enough of me for for a moment. Breathe. Well, there's going to be more of this because there's going to be another article. So we have to see where that goes. Did you hear about the story of 2 people being arrested for possessing an SA-80 rifle and a handgun? No, I didn't. Spicy. Let's see what you guys are doing. Again, guys, we've got 140 odd people watching, 70 likes. We've got 2 to 1. Let's get that more 1 to 1. Hit that like button if you're enjoying the stream. I know it's actually looking at how long we've been covering this topic, but I think it's really important. And obviously it's something that I'm quite passionate about because it's practical shooting. This is what I tend to do week in, week out. But I'd be exactly the same if they were attacking a 2-2 club, you know, a gallery club, a long range club, like whatever. This is, you know, last time they were attacking, you know, miniature rifle ranges. You know, that's not just practical. So, you know, this is something, again, we all, regardless of what the ultimate attack is at, we as, you know, shooters, we need to watch this and be careful. And call out the mistruths. I don't see what the problem is, why people are so scared. Like, we're not doing anything wrong here, right? We have nothing to hide. Henry Stevens, I ordered some things and he chucked me some Haribos in. Yes, for those of you that don't know, it's not exactly a secret. If it was, it'd be the world's worst secret. We always include Haribo at Magload, no matter how big or small the order is. Although there is the only secret is that we have big bags of Haribo, the £1 bags, and we have the small bags of Haribo, the 10p bags. There is a very secret algorithm of how you get a big bag. And that, you know, I could tell you, but I would have to kill you. It is a trade secret. So, you know, feel free to try and find out. Alexander Dale, got my FAC interview on Monday. Wish me luck, lads. Well, yes, a heartfelt good luck to you. Everyone really does get hepped up on their interviews. It's really nothing to worry about. You know, they might try and throw you a few curveballs. Just be yourself, be honest. Like, at the end of the day, you've got nothing to hide, or I hope you've got nothing to hide. You know, the typical tricks are, you know, where are you going to keep your keys? Well, that's for me to know and for you to never. You know, those sort of things. You know, I got the one of the FEO came in, saw that we had chickens. Who's like, oh, you don't want a shotgun for foxes, do you? I'm like, no, I want it for clay pigeons. He's like, oh, okay, right, just checking. But yeah, all the best, Alexander. I'm sure you will be absolutely fine, but I do hope it all goes well for you, and I hope the wait isn't too long afterwards. Choc hobnobs and good coffee. Absolutely, if you want your FEO on your good side, go and get a selection of biscuits, because some FEOs, you know, never assume somebody's biscuit preference. Right, that's a very dangerous move. Right, get some normal hobnobs, get some chocolate hobnobs, get some digestives, chocolate digestives, caramel digestives. That should pretty much cover it. Make sure you got tea, make sure you got coffee, even a couple of soft drinks. Just, you know, you want to seem hospitable, friendly, approachable. So yeah, tea, biscuits, coffee, drinks. Offer him a whiskey if you think it will help. That's not good advice. Do not crack open the whiskey during your firearms interview. It will not go well. Or it goes really well. See, that's the way it should be. It really should. Although I have heard of people in the past that had that sort, or have that sort of relationship with their firearm inquiry officer, where they would come round and they would pour out whiskey, and that's the way it should be. You should have that relationship. You know, it's, you know, not necessarily a friendship, although that would be a bonus, but certainly, look, come in, sit down, let's have a chat, like, let's relax, like, here you go, let me pour out a measure. Rack and Load is here, or was here. Evening, Neil, if you're still about, thanks for joining. It's been far too long since we've last saw each other. I keep on saying that I need to come up to Yveley and have a shoot with you. If you're watching, hit me up. No more matches for the rest of the. Well, actually, there's one more. Don't tell my fiance. There's one more match. Might be two, actually. Anyway, as far as she's concerned, no more matches. Not quickfire bullets again. What happens if you load quickfire bullets in a slow fire rifle? Is that like loading 357 in 38? Or like NATO into non-NATO? Christopher Toner, both guys in the paper are qualified ROs, exactly. I wonder how you know that. Don't get either by 1520. Oh, Tipman. Oh, God. Hey, guys, my firearms license is in the works. Planning on getting a 2.2 rifle. Currently looking at the Hammerly or the Tipman 2.2. What would you recommend? So, again, all the best with your firearms license application. 100%. I don't like to tell people what to go for. I like to present the knowledge. I like to present all the options, the pros and cons, this, that, and the other. But there are some guns that you should just not touch. The Hammerly is one of them. Don't go near it. Trust me, 6 months, a year down the line, you will be selling it. You will be buying one of the options that we're about to discuss. The Tipman. Now, the Tipman is potentially an option. And I'm going to say potentially because they've done a lot of changes to it, a lot of modifications to it, and it is a good running gun overall. It personally wouldn't be my choice, but the new version is certainly better than the original version that I reviewed on the channel. I am trying to get hold of one to sort of do an updated review because, again, they have improved it. I wouldn't necessarily say absolutely no, because there are some very good shooters on the circuit using Tipman rifles, and, you know, okay, nobody has won a level 3 with a Tipman rifle, as far as I'm aware. But people are regularly finishing in the top 10, top 5 with Tipmans. So it's not a bad option, but I think there are certainly better options. So as Dan said, buy a 1522 or a rifle from Otto, two very solid options. For somebody just starting out, I honestly think go for the 1522, right? Unless you know, you're fortunate that you don't really care about the budget, you want to buy once, cry once. It doesn't matter if you go and spend £1,000 or £3,000 on a rifle. You know, if you're remotely budget conscious and if you're just starting out within firearms and shooting sports, you're going to have a lot of stuff that you're going to want to spend money on, right? You're going to want to get other guns, you're going to want to probably get more safes, optics, ammunition, training, all this sort of stuff, club membership. So save your money to begin with, right? The 1522, you can, you know, after a bit of mag load glitter, you can go into a competition and win. Like, it is a competition winning rifle here within the UK. It is up to the stand. It is capable of doing it. Again, there are better options, but nowhere near the price of the 1522. You can get a base model 1522 for about £650. If you're interested in one, again, we don't say it on the website, but we sell all of these guns at Magload. We can get the base guns, we can We can do any modifications you want to it. We can fit all of our stuff. We can fit other people's stuff. We build guns regularly for customers. You know, we get a lot of people that literally go, I want a gun I can go and win a competition with. And we go, okay, it's going to be around this price. And they go, yep, build it. And, you know, build it, you know, send it out to them, this, that, and the other. Or we get people just going, look, I just want to start small. I want a 1522 and I want a magwell. Cool, right, we'll do that for you. We get the gun in, we put the magwell on there, we test that the gun works, zero in your optic if you want us to do that. So we can do from the smallest budget to the largest budget. Yeah, and I say to people all the time, if you want any advice, if you want to talk about options, give us a call. Like, that's why we're there. Don't be scared to phone up Magload and get talking to us guys. We will melt your ears talking about guns. Like, just be prepared for that. So yeah, really the 1522 is still an absolutely solid option, no doubt about it. It of course does have some weaknesses in terms of the fact that it is a polymer receiver set, so you do get some flex in the barrel. This can be mitigated with your shooting style, and it's not fully mil-spec, so you will have issues with aftermarket triggers. The safety isn't so much an issue because you just buy a Magload one anyway, but it's not a mil-spec safety that you're fitting. And of course, the standard magazines do have their issues. Magazine updates in a moment, Daniel. But it's still very, very up there. If you want to remove those issues, then go to Otto. Right, you can either go for an aero precision receiver set build. That's going to run you, depending on the option, because the sky is always the limit. They're going to start at about £1,000 to 200 quid. That is going to get you a gun that you can again run into a competition with and win. Then there is of course Battle Arms, which you're probably looking around the £1,800 to £2,000 mark. The Battle Arms, again, if money's not an object, if you want the best out there, in my opinion, that is the Battle Arms. I use a Battle Arms in competition, so does Connors, and actually Cotswold Classic Arms put out a very interesting, and I think, you know, they should be proud of this. I'd be shouting from the rooftops about it. Let me just find that post, search for, come on, Cotswold Classic Arms. So if you want if you want a reason to why you should go to Otto, then you won't get much better than this. So I think it was this post. Big thank you for the Cotswold Classic Arms customers who attended the Welsh Mini Rifle Championship at Pro Shoot Firearms. The last and most talked about level 3 UK PSA Mini Rifle Championship of the year. There were 14 shooters from a total of 61 who used our rifles. In the top 12, there have been 8 shooters shooting Cotswold Classic Arms rifles. 7 shooters were using Battle Arms development, and 1 was using an Aero Precision, with Kelvin and Connors winning open and standard respectively. And, you know, so first place Battle Arms, first place Battle Arms, second place in senior Battle Arms, third place overall in open Aero Precision, fourth place overall Battle Arms, fifth place overall Battle Arms, sixth place overall Battle Arms, 10th place overall Battle Arms. I think you get the the theme here, right? You know, the statistics are saying that like the what's the term? Americans like winningest. Like, the Battle Arms is the winningest rifle at the moment. It's the one. I mean, I think I'm pretty sure every level 3 mini rifle in the UK this year was won by a Battle Arms. So, you know, and the Smiths have been up there. You will see 1522s up in the top 10 regularly. But, you know, the top 3 now is just, well, there is another one, a CMMG conversion kit, but Otto's worked on that gun, so it's sort of an Otto gun. But yeah, the Battle Arms are just dominating the mini rifle scene at the moment. So, yeah. But there you go. There's a few options you should be able to take from, and also the Lantac LASF 15, very good rifle. Can't fault the rifle. Let's not talk about the company. But yes, oh yeah, Andrew, Landtech LASF 15 company are a bit of a joke, but the product is first class. Yep, couldn't put it better myself. Did I see pigeon spaghetti? I think I might have. What was that? Will the pigeon spaghetti people help with this? Is that what Basque is going to be known as from now? The pigeon spaghetti people. It should be a thing. It should be a thing. I need to make more t-shirts and more patches and more stickers. Based on Cornwall, got 120 acres before FAC application and full member of a club. Been waiting 10 months so far for FAC interview. Yeah, it's not good at the moment. Has CSR ever been attacked like this? You would think they would target that more since they use two 5.56 AR-15s. Shh! Don't tell them about CSR. Whatever you do, don't tell them about CSR. You know, yeah, but that's the ridiculous thing, right? CSR, yes, it you know, it has evolved into a sport like IPSC has, but its roots are still much closer to military and you know, improvised shooting position and combat and stuff like that. You know, and the fact that they do regularly wear camo. You know, now it's more of a practical element while they're wearing the camo, but you get, in my opinion, I think you get a little bit more warts within. I'm not saying all CSR shooters are warts, but I think you certainly get more that fascinate around the military aspect within CSR than you do IPSC. CSR also shoot humanoid targets, as they do. Oi, I didn't ask about the mags, you donut. Well, we can talk about the mags. We can now talk about the mags because there is massive progress being made. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, Magload has finished development of the replacement AR-22 magazines. Now, some of you very keen-eyed, probably already furiously typing at your keyboard. Yes, we have one of the changes has been that it will be a 31 round magazine. We were originally going for 32. We, you know, hope, obviously there's guys that have pre-ordered, you know, practically won't make a difference in terms of IPSC competitions or even plinking. 31, 32, you know, you can't load more than 31 in a magazine for IPSC anyway, but that's what we had to do to get the magazines finished. So the design is now finished and we are fully into production, and it's just all finally come together at the last minute. And seriously, like, we almost had a little cry in the office when the last batch came in. Unfortunately, I was getting ready to go up to Scotland, so I didn't go to the range with Connors, but he came back and he was like, they're done, like, this is it. We were working on about 5 different little things, and we were all like 1% away on each of them. And then on this last batch, just everything fell into place. And, you know, so obviously the whole reliability is the number one thing. And we were there. We were at like 99% reliability. That's not good enough for us. So we wanted the 100%. That's what we've been chasing. The other aspect was they were continuously difficult to load. Certainly more difficult to seat than say like a 1522 magazine, and then just a few tweaks here and there, and they are like butter to load now. And they're just better than, seriously, better than any mag that I've used in any other 2.2 AR platform. You just show it the mag well and it seats. You know, they run in any gun, they run well in any gun, and of course they've got the beefed up feed lips. It's got we've tried all these different formulas of glass filled polymer for wear, but you know, strength and this, that, and the other. And you know, they wear slower than say the 1522 magazines, and the feed lip has a hell of a lot more meat. Like, these are going to last significantly longer than the original 1522, and we now, not only are they better in that aspect, but we think the performance aspect is better. So you're getting something that is going to last longer but also perform better, which is what we've been aiming for the whole time. The only thing that we had to sort of change to be able to achieve that was moving it from a 32 round magazine to a 31. And I can say, like, we will probably shoot out an email just to keep everybody that's under the pre-ordered updated, because I know not all of them, most of them watch the stream, but not all of them. And you know, if there is anybody out there and you are, you know, you were dead set on having a 32 round magazine and you want a refund, like, let us know. Like, you know, we advertise a 32 round magazine. It's going to be a 31. You know, there's going to be no questions asked there if you go, oh no, I wanted it 32. I can't think of a reason why you'd really be set on a 32 round magazine, but you know, it's what was pre-ordered as, so that's what we have to deliver. It just looks so good. Like, seriously, we're very, very, very happy when Connors came back to the range. Oh, enhance. Yeah, so we've tested it with a bunch of different ammunition. This is the final form of it. So you've got the window indicators for all the different capacity, so you can see where it is. It is of course a injection molded construction, but we are still using printed followers like we do with our extension bases. That's fine. And there is a little chip inside with the magazine, which is also 3D printed. In terms of durability, we were throwing this, if any of you have been to Magload, our office is on the first floor, and there's this set of stairs within the factory to go up to the office. We were dropping it off of the top of the stairs, and Connors, I think, dropped it, I think he said 4 or 5 times before there was until the base failed. Now, you are not going to subject it to those sorts of drops. They're going to be dropped from a meter, maybe a meter and a half. You know, this was, you know, I don't know, 3-4 meters off the top of the stairs. You know, it's significantly more energy involved, and it still lived up. Like, so we're happy with that, because of course we don't want you guys breaking the mags, and we want you to be able to throw them about and punish them and not have to worry about them. So they're very near. So it's now over to the injection molders. They're doing a production run so that they can send back, because you know, they've only been doing a few here and there. They're going to do sort of a demo or dummy production run, and then we will get samples off of that just to check that the final production setups is good, which it should. There's no design changes, and then we will be we are hopeful to have finished parts and start shipping by the end of the month. That is what we're on track for, and hopefully we can deliver that. British Avian Spaghetti Committee. You just give me bad ideas. But they're good. Where's my pencil? There. This is me for science. British Avian Spaghetti. I'm going to have a play with this. Basque. I'll see what I can come up with. Saying about coming down to Magload, and if you've been there or not. If you do want to come down to Magload, now bearing in mind, like, we get people phoning up all the time going, can we come down? I'm like, yeah, we're a shop. Like, we're more of a factory, but like, we are a shop. We're listed on Google with opening hours, and people are like, oh, I didn't know if you allowed visitors. I'm like, yes. Like, so any time, you don't need to wait until you're invited or open days. if you want to come down, you can come down. But if you need an invitation, then here is one, because at Magload we are holding a open day on the 26th of November. That's Saturday, 2 weeks Saturday, at Magload HQ. So we're based literally right at the bottom of the A3 in Havant. It's the Langstone Technology Park. Havant is right by Portsmouth, it's sort of between Portsmouth and Chichester. So it's really easy to get to, depending on where you are in the country. But you are free to join. You don't need to. It would be nice just so we get an idea if you want to go. And that's right, I was prepared for once. I got the link ready. Let me share link. Here we go. I'm going to put the event link in the chat box. So if you are going, then please do just hit that, but you don't need to. It's a free to attend. If you came to our last open day, it will be very, very similar. Join us for the 2022 Magload Open Day held at the factory. There will be a barbecue and drinks provided, and various team Magload members and Magload dealers in attendance. You will have a chance to see live product demos and be able to get hands on yourself. There will also be an action air range again, like we did last year, so there will be shooting on the day if you want to. I think we'll do another little competition. Fastest time of the day on this course will win something, to be determined. But yeah, we've got Cotswold Classic Arms is going to be at the day again. So if you're interested in an aero precision build or one of his guns, if you're interested in a battle arms, or you're interested, I'm going to say this, I'm going to assume he's going to bring this, and I hope he does. If you're interested in seeing a straight pull Section 1 SA80 in 223, then I'd come down to the day, because Cotswold Classic Arms is most likely going to have one. We're also going to have Caliber Innovations there. Caliber make a whole plethora of different guns. They also import a whole plethora of different guns. They do specific sort of gun building services, Cerakote, and have a whole host of different products that they sell. So there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff from them. We've got Marmaduke Creations coming down. That is a custom handmade knife maker. Some incredible knives that he makes, and I'm very fortunate to have one myself, otherwise known as my biltong knife. Really just top class craftsmanship. We've got iWholesales, so iWholesale specialised in airsoft guns, so you'll be able to buy an airsoft gun on the day if you want to get into action air, you want to do some plinking in your garden, you need to buy more BBs or gas. They have all of that there. We also have a little bit of a curveball one, longer, but more personal story behind this. But we're going to have, some people will know, if you've been a subscriber of this channel for a long time, you will know my passion / crippling addiction for watches and horology. And we are going to have, and I'm a firm believer that there is this really nice synergy between automotive, aerospace, like firearms, watches, just anything sort of mechanical and engineering. Like, people that tend to like firearms tend to like watches and cars, and people that are into their planes tend to like watches, cars, guns. Like, it's all very sort of similar people. And I know there's probably some of you out there that go, I couldn't give a shit, I don't own a watch, don't want one. But anyway, we're going to have these guys there, Zero West, and I would say bring your pocket money. Maybe a little bit more than pocket money, but they specialize in watches that are inspired by automotive and aerospace, all made within the UK. The movements are Swiss, so they are, well, it's not 100% Swiss made, but they do make some absolutely beautiful pieces. So they're going to be coming down to exhibit and show. But the one that I know all of you guys, and this he's said, is not for John Prunty. You have pretty eyes. So do you, my darling. So he will be bringing this. So this was a bit of fun that he wanted to do. So don't know if you can see that. It's basically a James Bond briefcase with one of his watches in, but he has all the gadgets in it, which is just absolutely cool. So, you know, Walther, PPK, come on, focus. One of his watches there, and then all the various gadgets like the breathing apparatus. So yeah, there's going to be some really cool stuff there on the day. As I said, free barbecue. So if you want, come down, have a burger, have a hot dog. We will have vegan and vegetarian options. Mainly the grass on the side of the building. No, we will have edible, humane options for vegans and vegetarians. Yeah, if you want a beer, you want a soft drink, then we'll hook you up with that. And I always like feel like I'm forgetting somebody. But yeah, so there's gonna be lots on offer. So we will be. Some of you have clocked that we are getting towards a certain Black Friday within this month. Yes, it's only a couple of weeks away, and this open day does fall over Black Friday. So any deals, and we're very strict on this, we never, prior to officially announcing them, although I might do, yeah, because it's on the Thursday, so you might get a sneak peek on Thursday what deals we'll be doing, but that will be the earliest. But anyway, the deals that we'll be running over Black Friday, we will be running in person during the open day as well. So if you've had your eye on a loader, you've had an eye on stuff, and you want to come down and get it in person, then the open day is a perfect opportunity. So again, it's Havant. Our postcode is PO91JW, right at the bottom of the A3. In Havant, Saturday the 26th of November, and everyone's welcome. You want to bring the family, you want to bring your kids, you want to bring your dog, bring everyone you want. We're going to try and have a bit of a nice day, and you know, chat the shit, have a bit of a shoot, talk guns, and yeah, meet all of you guys. So it's like almost like an unofficial English shooting meetup as well, if you want to look at it that way. So I'll be there, Connors will be there, Paul will be there, various other Team Maglo members will be there that you've no doubt seen on the circuit or seen in the videos. So yeah, should be a good day. You don't have an FAC for how many years, and yet you still have a MP12 on sale? Sus. What? What are you talking about? Peter Lamb, yep, cars plus watches plus guns equals good day out. Yes, not a good day for your wallet though. Bad news from Ireland, we're set to lose semi-auto centre fire rifles. That is new news to me. Bill, would you, if you've got any articles on that, could you ping them over to EnglishShooting@gmail.com just so I can see what's going on that, because that's something I think potentially need to follow. Phil Swift, it's a 3-hour drive for me, but cheers, buddy. Well, it starts at 10, so it's not a ridiculously early start. So yeah, any guys want to turn up there? Be an awesome day. What are we talking about then? What is next on the agenda? Oh yes, let's keep it a practical theme. We did shoot at a match this weekend. Talk a little bit about that. I don't actually have any photos or videos to show you guys yet of it. It was a weekend of two halves. I went to a brand new, well, not I say brand new range, a new to me range up in Talltrees, which is sort of north of Middlesbrough, so I took part in the 4th round of the Shield Cup, as in Shield Sights. It was meant to be, I think, just an LBP match, but they opened it up to mini rifle, and I think I said to you guys, I wanted to stay fresh on it, and like a fantastic little comp. I say little comp, it was 8 stages, and we were in a range, like, you know, it was like a typical sort of 25 yard, say maybe 6 bay range, but what they had done with it, like, I have never done so much movement and running around in such a small space, and it wasn't like annoyingly like tight. Like, you had some proper runs, you know, hard exits, hard stops, shooting on the move, all within this like small space, and every stage was fun and enjoyable. So really just everything hooked up to me for me that day. The gun just ran brilliantly. It'd been recently back to Otto to have a bit of tinker here and there, and the gun is just absolutely singing, and not a single issue all day. And I really like stepped up the speed to 110% and ended up winning overall. So very, very happy with that. So yeah, won the mini rifle, but also beat all of the LBP shooters, which is never a bad thing. And then I think after the coming out of that sort of confidence and like, yeah, that went really well, everything just went to crap on the Sunday. So I ended up finishing 5th in standard for the Action Air match. Now, it was only my second level 3 in Action Air, and I haven't really done a huge amount of practice in it, but I know I could have done a lot better. 3rd was definitely within reach, and you know, I probably could have got closer to a shitload closer to 2nd. I was just going too fast, you know, going over it. It was more the poppers. My accuracy wasn't bad. But my accuracy on the poppers was really slowing me down. I was trying to blag the poppers too much, going a bit too fast, a little bit scrappy as well, you know, getting close on some angles, a few, let's say, rapid engagement of targets. It just, like, not in the right frame of mind, and just didn't perform particularly well. But, you know, still managed 5th in division. And yeah, I think I was only 1% away from 3rd, and I did also have gun issues. So I kept running out of gas in the mags, so having to do a lot of standing reload. So, you know, I look at it like the gun cost me 3rd, and my own performance cost me anything above that. But yeah, still a bad day at the range is still better than a good day at work, right? So, but yeah, it was a weekend of 2 halves. Very happy with my performance on the Saturday, less so happy on the Sunday. But talking about IPSC, there's been a lot of you are probably going to switch off now if you're not interested in practical and IPSC. Before you go, hit that like button. Just do it, please, for me. There's been a lot of talk about changes to IPSC rules, and it's really got a lot of people's knickers in a twist. And I don't think it necessarily, like, seriously, my livelihood is based on selling the equipment for practical shooting. If anybody's going to get, and specifically the equipment that they've targeted in these rules changes, right? If anybody's going to get their knickers in a twist, it's likely to be myself or Connor's. And I think there's maybe a little bit of overreaction to some extent. What I think people aren't really happy about is that we're only finding out about this now. Apparently, this was being talked about 6 months ago, and yet, you know, members and competitors weren't informed of it, right? So we haven't had a chance to say that's ridiculous. And I think what people aren't necessarily getting annoyed at the rules themselves, but certainly the way that like the diagrams they've done and the way it's worded is just not very good. But the sport has to evolve. We have to see rule changes. It's, you know, I compare IPSC to like the Formula 1 of shooting, and Formula 1 is constantly changing the rules, even mid-race. Still bitter. But yeah, so this is the rule change. I'm not going to go through all of it, but mainly the big changes relevant to us are going to be shotgun and mini rifle. So, and a lot of this is just neatening up and maybe removing, you know, making rules more specific. So let's find rifle division. Not really applicable to us because we're not allowed to have big guns. Shotgun. This is one of the main things. No cartridges are allowed above the no cartridges are allowed above a horizontal line level with the tip of the elbow. Tolerance +3 centimeters, except for cartridges inside a detachable magazine. Now you might think, oh, what does that mean? What difference does that make? It's when you look at the diagram. Where is it? Now this is where the diagram just isn't particularly good. So I think what people are interpreting this as is has someone taken a photo of a screen? Why is it all pixelated? I think they have. I think someone is genuinely taking a photo of a monitor. Jesus. But basically what people are interpreting this as is that your caddies are now going to have to be worn around the waist. Now, they're worn around the belly button, right? So they are basically the bottom of your belt usually sits at the waist, and this allows you to bend. This allows you to move. We're in a dynamic sport. You need to bend over. You need to move about. And this allows you to do it. And what people are saying is, if we are forced to wear our shells and caddies around the middle, we're not going to be able to move. But actually, and I'm not going to do it now, mainly because I'm in my comfies. I may look neat and smart, but I am sat here in my pajamas and slippers. That's the perks of having a stream studio at home. So anyway, when I quite often at the range, I will rest my arms and elbows like relaxed, but slightly retained by the top of my loaders. And like looking at it, with a 3 centimeter buffer, the caddies aren't going to sit, on me anyway, are not going to sit any higher or lower, or certainly any lower than I would normally have them. I can comfortably put my rig on and it will sit on the tips of my elbows. The issue is that, like, not everybody is the same. What if you have, people that have particularly long torsos and short arms, like T-Rexes? They're gonna be able to wear it like up here, right? So I think it's dictating where these belts should be, but how they're doing it, I don't think is particularly well thought out. And should be tweaked. So I don't think it's going to cause people to have to wear them around the waist. But for me personally, I don't think that this rule could come in tomorrow, and I don't think it's going to affect my setup at all. But if you have a short torso and long arms, you could be wearing it around your legs. And ultimately, it comes down to the range masters and the ROs to enforce the rules. And if everybody thinks that this, they think it's ridiculous, you're allowed to give dispensation to people due to their body type and body shape. And if you do particularly have a short torso and long arms, they may just go, yeah, like wearing it around your thighs is just ridiculous. So I think really what they should say, a better way of doing it would be to, well, it depends where you define your waist, but the way I think they should define it is it should be no higher than your belt, than your belt on your trousers. Now, okay, people can go gangster style and people can have it right up to their top. There's a bit of exploitation, but nobody who's trying to get good times and move fluidly is going to dick about with having their trousers up their crack, are they? So, defining it more like that, I think would have been better suited. But ultimately, I don't know. I mean, there are people absolutely losing their shit over it, and perhaps there's something I'm missing. But for me, I don't think it's necessarily a huge issue. I just think they maybe need to reword it and be a little more thought out with it. There is also another big change. Now, we like to think that we are responsible, as in Magload is responsible, because basically the whole option 3 thing, so some of you, I actually have, if you don't know what an option 3 is, so option 3 is a completely empty gun. And with a completely empty gun, the slowest part is getting that first round in the chamber and the chamber shut. So that's why we make option 3 loaders. The original option 3 loader was on a bit of Velcro, so you could put it in place for an option 3 start and remove it. And then we got wind that they were going to change the rules to dictate that if you had a option 3 saver fitted, it had to be there for the entirety of the competition. And that's why we came out with the reflex option 3. So this is permanently mounted to the gun, but it folds up and collapses so that it doesn't get in the way, and you can keep it permanently mounted to the gun throughout an entire competition. So you open it up, you place your cartridge in there, it holds it. As you can see, there's a magnet in this bit here, so that's what's retaining the cartridge. So you can tilt the gun to the side, you can tip it up, the cartridge is going to stay in place. And then when it comes to the start, those are our reflex loaders. When it comes to the start, so you're dictated 2 hands on the gun, and you can't be touching the cartridge, but 2 hands on the gun, well, 2 hands at the gun, parallel to the ground, face downrange, this, that, and the other. On the start signal, you flick it in and go. And as you can see, it's self-collapsed. It's got out of the way, and then you can get to work. So basically, they stopped the rule, in terms of this enforcing the option 3 having to remain on the gun. They dropped that because we released the reflex, and they thought, well, that sort of balls that up. But now they've gone a step further. Now, bearing in mind, people designing stages and writing stage briefs had the option to dictate this to begin with, but now they're looking at, for any unloaded option 3 start, fixed magazines must be empty, detachable magazines removed, and chambers must be empty. The action bolt may be open or closed. No ammunition may be attached or contained within the gun by any means. So that means, and this isn't just for, I don't think Connors actually has he doesn't have a stage saver or shot saver on there. So this is actually, I have more of a problem with this rule, because again, if we compare IPSC to F1, it's about technological advancement. It's about pushing design and manufacturers, and to improve the guns and more gizmos and gadgets. And just coming out with a rule to just completely ban one thing just seems, some people say that option 3 loaders are not in the spirit of the law, spirit of the rules, but it's so's opening up your port work so you can load lightning fast because it didn't come like that from the factory. So it completely outlaws them, but also it means that if you have a shot saver, so something that holds a cartridge in front of the chamber for the, oh my god, I've run out, I've run dry and I've got one more target to engage, I'll quickly. So if you use a shot saver, you won't be able to put a cartridge in your shot saver for the option 3 start, which actually penalizes not just the option 3 start, but the rest of the stage. And then added to that, what it ends up doing is, some of you may be aware of the auto loading lifters. So you have the bolt back, your first load, it automatically chambers the round and closes the bolt. Very clever bit of kit. And that just swings the advantage straight away to auto loading lifters. And you're like, well, so you're banning gizmos and gadgets like the option 3 loader, but you're perfectly happy for the auto loading lifters. It just, either remove both of them or have none of them. If you want everybody to be fair and balanced on an option 3 start, then make sure that the lifters are standard, and make sure that you don't have any option 3, or just allow everybody to so that's what I have more of a problem with. But we're already working on it. We are genuinely looking at ways to levitate cartridges in front of the port, because we're like a dog with a bone. It's like, right, you wanted to effectively ban our option 3 loaders. We came out with the reflex. Check. IPSC are like no options reloaders. Any guns touching or affixed to the gun. Okay, you've got yourself out of check. Levitating cartridge. Like, try and write that out of the rules, and it can be done. But I don't know. It might end up costing 150 quid, but we want to do it out of principle. And there is some changes to mini rifle. So let's see if I can find the mini rifle. This is, I don't think this isn't really anything to agree or disagree with. Some people may struggle more than others on the circuit next year. So changes to mini rifle, they're changing the distances, they're bringing stuff closer in. Fine, I much prefer that. For me, mini rifle should be fast. It should be, you know, yes, you should have some distance, but it should be quick, it should be rapid. Maximum target distance for a mini target is 80 meters. Still pretty far. Micro targets can only be used to simulate IPSC targets placed at 40 to 120 meters. Here we go. With the exception of a bipod and or barricade stop, the use of any other stability improving device attached to the firearm by any means is prohibited. So yeah, this, like, I was thinking like somebody's definitely tried to do like a gyro, haven't they? But it's where is it? It's the bipods. Where is that? Only one bipod with a maximum extended length of 90 centimeters from the center line of the barrel is permitted per course of fire. Bipods may be removed during a course of fire and changed between courses of fire. So I don't think that, you know, really affects too much. All these people running around with multiple bipods, in my mind, it just makes you slower overall. But another interesting one, magazines must not be clipped, taped or otherwise attached to any other magazines. People, and this is a little bit annoying actually, because we've built in this built-in upgrade for our magazines to be able to link them. And I'm sure there'll be people that still want to do that anyway, but it was going to be a big sort of bonus for IPSC. Well, now they can't, they have to be singular magazines. Compensators are now permitted within standard, so we're going to be looking at that. Off the top of my head, I can't remember if our standard, if our muzzle brake does apply to that already. If not, we will design one for standard. But yeah, it's like, I don't think there's really too much to get to be objective about with that. It's just neatening up and maybe closing a few areas where people were exploited or exploiting, not exploited. Completely nude below the hoodie, just like he was in KY. You really do reminisce about Kentucky far too much, Daniel, and me being naked. Love those 90s Oakleys. You really got an issue with Oakleys, haven't you? NRA, no rifles allowed. BASC, British Association for Shooting Curtailment. 1 minute. No. Rifles allowed. I think we've already got the best BASC one. British Avian Spaghetti. But no rifles allowed. I like that. Phil Swift, Callum's scared to shoot against me. He's been ducking me for years in every IPSC event I've been to. I can understand why he doesn't want to get any of this smoke though. Any time, any place, any discipline. I'm willing to lose. It makes things harder for taller shooters with short bipods. Fine for those short boys. Once again, the short boys win. Like, being vertically challenged is a benefit in shooting sports. Like, every single time. Cooper tunnel, small, agile, compact, zip straight through. Low apertures, get down low. Like, every time. Like, everyone's like, ha, short ass. And you're like, yeah, well, I don't need a fucking 3 meter bipod, do I? Black Guinea Pig, I would be more than happy if bipods were banned. I'm IPSC. in IPSC. Ditto. I do take my grip pod. Again, this is how seriously I take bipods. I have my Fab Defense forward grip that splits open into a bipod. Now, admittedly, so for Basildon, there are always 2 stages that are 100 yards. You drop to the floor and you engage. It's normally like 3 or 4 targets. Done. And it does make a difference shooting those on bipods. 100%. And occasionally you will just get, Wales. It was 50-50 for me whether it was beneficial dropping to go to a bipod. I think in hindsight, I probably should have. Don't think I lost too much time, but it was the score and the accuracy, which I think, not necessarily the time, that hurt me on that stage. So occasionally you will get to these positions where it would be advantageous to drop to a bipod. But just learn to shoot standing. Like, really, it's not like at mini rifle, we're shooting 100, 120 yards tops. It's not that difficult shooting a full-size IPSC target at 100, 120 yards standing with a mini rifle. It's like, it's well within most top competitors' capabilities. So yeah, I don't personally, I've used a bipod once in a level 3. If I think there's something to be gained, I'm not going to miss out on that. I'll use the bipod as well, but I don't go there with a bag full of them. I have my one bipod. If that bipod doesn't fit the the stage, I'll take it standing. It doesn't bother me. Short people need to have something to be happy about. English shooting should try some CSI. Face the waltz head on. I didn't say they were all waltz. I said there were some. You can't deny there are some. If you can't shoot standing, you can't shoot. Change my mind. You should come to mini rifle and tell the people that can't shoot standing that you'll be fine as long as they don't have a bipod. But yeah, I don't particularly mind if bipods are in there or not. And on that aimed shot, I think it is time to call it an evening. Before you all go, if you haven't already, it's free. It's really quick to do. Just hit that like button. If this is your first time watching the live stream, then thank you, welcome. Hit that subscribe button because we do this every single week. I will be doing a more concise video on the news article. Basically every article they want to write, I will do a video on. I'm not going to allow misinformation to be put out there about shooting sports in general, and specifically one that I spend most of my weekends participating in. So yes, don't forget, 26th of November is the Magload open day from 10 o'clock. You're welcome to turn up. I think we've said till 5, but we'll be there. We'll most likely be there later. If you want to hang around, we're not going to kick anybody out. But yeah, free food, free drink, demos, get hands-on with some airsoft, see a load of guns, and see the whole team down there. Should be a brilliant day, and you are all invited. Just none of the usual jokes. But there, yeah, I hope you all have a fantastic week. Hopefully lots of shooting in your near future. Thanks again, everybody, for watching and joining us this evening. And of course, as always, guys, I hope to see you soon.